Hello everyone, and welcome again. This week we're back in one of my favorite places, the state of Maine, and we're going to be doing something relatively different for this region. We're with Captain Eric Wallace from Coastal Fly Angler, and we're going to be fishing the flats around Casco Bay for striped bass. We're under good conditions, and there's a good chance that we're going to be able to sight fish for these fish in as little as a foot of water. I'm really excited about this one, so stay tuned, because it begins next on The New Fly Fisher.
Ooh, that's a nice size fish. What?
Absolutely fantastic.
The New Fly Fisher is supported by Maine Office of Tourism, Orbis Fly Fishing, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada,
Striped bass have gotten into my blood for so many reasons, but at the top is their range and the many ways that we can fly fish for them. If the timing is right, one can wade for them or fish to them from boats, and we find them in so many settings, such as estuaries and medium-sized streams, big brawling rivers, and now, for the first time, I'm sight fishing on flats from a traditional skiff. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. Stripers are as close to perfect as a sport fish comes. We arrived at the launch and quickly got underway. I was super excited as this was my first time fishing stripers on the flats, and I knew it would be very different from my other striped bass experiences. We were at our first location within minutes, and after giving me the Striper Flats Fishing 101, it all kind of unfolded just as Eric had described, and I was casting to feeding fish right off the hop. So this is our first morning out, our first 15 minutes really, and it's kind of a get acquainted morning. But Eric said that these fish were, I don't know exactly how much water were in here, but Eric said these fish would be busting in here. We'd get an opportunity, and they're out there. Just need to get them to chase my fly.
Rob, if you take a look up here towards those birds in the dry land,
Okay.
you can see a lot of wakes now.
Okay.
See them pushing around?
Way up there?
Yeah, way up in there.
Yeah, I see that.
So the fish have crawled in.
I see that, yeah, okay.
So they're going to stay skinny for us for a little while. So with this cloud cover, they're pretty happy over this mud. So we should get a few more shots in here.
I think I just had a tap. He didn't feel it though, I think. There he is.
Nice.
Oh. There, that's our first fish. We went around this little bay, and there's fish moving all over the place. And that was the first one that took though. Yeah, a little schoolie, that's all right though.
You need schoolies, right?
You need schoolies. They're, I am positively hooked on striped bass now, Eric. I love them. They're such a pretty fish. That's just a little guy, but it's a different fight in the salt water. There, first Maine striper. Thanks, Eric.
You bet.
That was fun. In a nutshell, what we're doing here is it's no different than any flats fishing you've seen in Florida or Bahamas. We're in about, I'm gonna say, a foot to maybe 4 feet of water, and Eric is behind us, or behind me, poling us along, and we're looking for wakes in this nice glassy calm water. We're looking for wakes or any sign of a fish breaking the surface and following bait, and then Eric's pointing them out to me, giving me a direction on a clock face, and I'm trying to cast to it. And it's, I gotta say, it's different. It's different than any striped bass fishing that I've done. But if you just keep your eye out along here and even up and behind us, you'll just see little wakes. Sometimes they're very subtle, and sometimes they're very aggressive. Those are the fish that we want to go for.
Keep stripping.
Oh, I got him. I got him. I got him.
Well done, buddy. Well done.
Come on.
You're off to the races.
Now, when you get this much line, it's important that you manage that. If you're trying to get it to the reel, you gotta, I'm letting the fish clear the line. Now I got him. Well, at least now I've kind of got him under control. That was all right. This is really cool stuff. I mean, I love all kinds of fish, but these are good. These are fun. You want to see lots of age classes, right?
Oh yeah, loving seeing this younger crowd around. Been a while.
Is that right?
Yeah. No, we seem like a bulk of everything's at year class 15, and this is nice to see a few younger ones roaming around right now.
Oh, come here, baby. Come here. Oh, that's a little improvement. Free fish. Oh, he bit me. There goes a great big crab. Go eat that crab. Well, that was all right. That was like I said, a little improvement.
Well done.
Thank you.
How's that fly looking?
It's looking good. September the 12th, and I'm complaining about the heat. This was turning out to be far more than I expected, which is always good when you're fishing, but being frank, this was just flat out fun. I fished the flats for bonefish and tarpon in the past, and shots were, well, let's say they were infrequent at best. This, though, was fast and furious, and it was becoming more and more clear that Eric had this game dialed in. As the tides affect different areas at different times, Eric seemed to be on top of where he wanted to be, and he always had me casting to fish. It was simply up to me to rise to the occasion and get my you-know-what together. And sometimes that's easier said than done. But with each new location, I had a renewed sense of confidence. I'm seeing, towards that white shack, I'm seeing just broken water. It's just sporadic, but I think it's fish.
This little area here, this last few weeks, has had a lot of Manhattan, or some call it moss bunker or bunker. Hoagies is locally called. They're used for lobster bait and also used for like omega-3 pills and stuff. But they've been loaded up in here, and little bass don't really have an opportunity to eat them. It's the bigger fish. So in this little area, we've been lucky to find a couple nice-sized bass in the last few tides to look at a fly. So let's see if we can do that again today. See the little crown in the flat coming up?
The little crown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little
oh, yeah. I see what you mean.
Yep.
That line.
Just go ahead and cover water
Okay.
both directions here, and then we'll get over where that bait fish is pushing up on that flat.
I see what you're talking about. Oh, yeah. That's bait fish?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. They're big. Okay, now I can see the bottom. There he is. There he is. Oh, baby. Oh, my. You call that one. Let him go. Nice call, Eric. Nice call. We're into a new area here. As you can see, it's quite a bit deeper, and we're just following these big bait fish around. Got it dialed in, Eric. This might be a heftier fish. I got to look at it. It didn't look that big, but it's fighting. It's fighting above its weight class.
This seems to think so right now, right?
Average-ish.
Yeah. A little schoolie. Nice to see this size run around.
I love these fish. I love them. Right there. Well, not nearly as big as I thought. But look, they're such a pretty fish. Okay, going in. Go get big, baby. Go get big. We continued to chase the tide, and everywhere we went, we found fish. And I felt like I was getting more acquainted with the flats and how this whole tidal water thing worked.
Yeah, on the tides in the bay here, one of the things I kind of look for is an early morning drop, and then as it goes into slack, we got the sun getting a little bit higher, and then I can turn around and go out and find some sight fishing opportunities. So the way I lengthen a shallow water trip is basically chasing tides to sun angle. This bay fishes really kind of for what I try to do in the shallows. It's really 4 feet or 3 feet down to the bottom of the tide, and then back up to 4 or 5 feet. When I get a little higher in here for I'm targeting them with the flies, and then the shallows, it kind of swamps out, and that's kind of it for that. We have to change tactics or look forward to the next day of fishing.
As the tide continued to rise, it was becoming more difficult to find concentrations of feeding fish. So we fished to structure and likely looking feeding zones that might hold a few around. It was clear, though, that on this rising tide, the fishing would get exponentially tougher. By late morning, things had slowed considerably, so we decided to call it a day and head back for some much-needed R&R. I had a feeling, though, that based on the weather reports, that we would have much the same conditions for tomorrow, and I was feeling far more comfortable in this new-to-me game. Our home away from home for this trip to Maine was the Harraseeket Inn, and I have to say that I felt a bit spoiled. The Harraseeket is a 94-room luxury hotel located within walking distance of Freeport's famous shopping, and of course, the flagship LL Bean store. With a broad array of rooms, from contemporary to more rustic, the hotel can accommodate everyone from business travelers to honeymooners. There are 2 restaurants on site, the Maine Harvest Dining Room and the Broad Arrow Tavern. And while I didn't get a chance to eat at the Maine Harvest, I can say this about the Broad Arrow: there can't be finer food in Freeport. And further to that, I don't believe you could find better accommodations than at the Harraseeket. On day 2, we got an earlier start to maximize our time with the tide, and this morning gave us very similar conditions to the previous, with light cloud cover and not a breath of wind. Now that I had a feel for things and was well rested, I was even more enthusiastic to get back on the water. Eric's plan was to get back to a piece of water where he had hoped the big Manhattan would be pushing in on the tide and the larger stripers would follow. it'll be lower, the tide will be lower than it was yesterday at this point?
We're gonna go up into it.
Okay.
You see that, Rob? Like
Where?
10, moving right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, about 60.
They're always at 60.
Good cast. Oh, keep going, keep going. It's coming into you.
There's one of them. There we go. There we go. Well, you know what had to happen. There's just too many fish around for.
Well done, nice feed, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. There, got him on the reel. Step down here. So I don't fall in. Yeah, there's lots of fish in here. There's no question of that.
Look at that one that just pushed
Yeah,
away from us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, these are fun fish. That's a great way to start off. Great way to start off. Another schoolie, but I'll try and keep him out of that.
Schoolies that keep you honest when they're in the skinny.
Atta girl. Atta girl. Pretty fish. They're all pretty fish. Yeah. All right. We're on the board. It was hard to keep my composure here, as there were so many fish to target. But once Eric settled me down, I got into a pretty good rhythm and started to get more productive. There we go. That feels like a better fish. So we're in right now. It's hard to see through the camera, but we're only in about maybe 2 feet of water, and there seems to be fish all around us. And again, all we're doing is looking for wakes, disturbances in the water, trying to get our fly on them. This is the second one of the morning, and might be a slight upgrade. Still, you saw when these fish hit, there's no mistaking it. They're voracious. They don't just want to eat a bait. They're out to kill it, eh? That's fantastic. Fighting fish in shallow water can be a challenge because they really have only one place to go, and that's out. Big fish will do what they can to escape, and they seem to know every obstacle in the area once hooked. So for that reason, use the heaviest tippet that you can get away with, and you'll have a fighting chance of bringing these larger fish to hand. What did he leave?
Wants to get out in a little deeper water quick, doesn't he?
He took that on the drop. I gave it a pause. This might be a better fish. Backing.
We like backing. Backing in 2 feet of water.
Woo!
Yeah. A little tug.
I don't want him to go for that.
Yeah, you don't want to get him around that lobster gear.
So I've had this knock on stripers on other shows I've done, and guys I've talked to that say, strike, they don't fight that hard. I'll tell you, from the take, this fish took us into backing, and they may not give you that minute a pound kind of thing that steelhead and Atlantic salmon do, but I'll tell you this, they are. I love them. I'm hooked on them now. I'm absolutely sold on these fish.
I think they eat in the shallow is something special. It's a better fish than you had all morning. And that thing ate your fly in a foot of water, foot and a half of water. It's pretty cool. So seeing backing that quick.
Yeah, and he
Can't
knew,
criticize that on a fish.
he knew where he wanted to go too. He was
yeah.
heading hellbent for that pile of crap over there. This is a
nice fish.
This is an 8-weight, a fairly short 8-weight rod, and I'm not giving her an inch. Yeah, straight bass don't fight.
Want to give me some side pressure this way?
Yep. That's a beauty. Slack? You got slack. Nice. Nice.
There you go, buddy. Well done.
I got him.
Not a bad fish.
Look at that, eh? Look at that. We continued to fish on this section for a while longer and had a few more encounters, but Eric wanted me to see another aspect of these stripers, so again we chased the tide and moved off to another bay. One thing that I found very unique about this type of fishing is that you're seldom casting at any structure and that the fish can quite literally be anywhere, which requires you to really keep your head on a swivel. Now, I'm not sure if it's because the stripers are so food-driven on the flats, or if it's because they're an apex predator and simply aren't worried about much, but unlike so much angling we do in rivers, it's really quite featureless. Of course there is some structure, but even in the bright sun, these fish seem to be almost inured to the open water and their brief feeding windows on it.
Yeah, got him. Got him. I got him. There you go. I got him. About bloody time. Jeez. He's trying to run with his pack there.
Gotta be careful in here, I assume?
Yep.
With all this grass?
Yeah. Grass are connected to rock.
Don't give him anything? Yeah. That was so much fun. It's nice when it pays off. It's not a big fish either, but...
Big challenge.
Big challenge. Yeah, they're Technique L. Come here, darling. Another schoolie, but challenging and just a load of fun. With the tide coming up, our shots were getting scarcer. Even with the clear water and high skies, the fish this morning were relatively cooperative. But that's not to say it wasn't technical, and I'll admit that I was a bit humbled. Well, today was as good as yesterday, only a little bit different. This place has so much to offer in terms of the diversity of the flats fishing. Today we targeted fish that we could actually see, saw some massive schools. It's very unique. Tomorrow we're going to try something different, maybe try and get some fish on the top water. That's all we can do. You can't visit New England and not experience the fog. So on my third day, she gave us just that. It was socked in like pea soup. But Eric was more than familiar with the water around the inner islands, so we had no issues getting back into fish. We've been graced with dynamite conditions for the last 2 days, and today the fog rolled in. At least there's no wind, but I kind of like it. I always like lower light than higher light, but we haven't seen any fish moving around yet. We're just sort of blind casting here, coming into about 2 feet of water, and hope for the best. When you're fighting these big fish, guys, from a boat like this, and you're going to end up with a lot of line at your feet just from stripping. Usually these large fish will clear the line themselves, so I just let that feather through my finger until I get it on the reel, and if I have to put a little line on the reel, then I will. But I want to fight these big fish off the reel, and this isn't a huge striper, probably a average of what we've been getting, but they're still they're still in that big fish range. But let the fish help you out. They'll usually clear the reel as long as you've got control with it, with the fly line under your index finger. You're going to be in good shape. This looks like that's better than poking the eye with a sharp stick. That's how you start it off. Pretty Maine striper. In the water. Go on. Beauty. I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about cold water lines versus warm water lines. The situation we're in here in Maine this week is we've had unseasonably warm temperatures for the last couple of days. Air temperatures in the high 70s, and the water temperature on the flats has been reaching the low 70s. I'm using a cold water line, which doesn't perform in warmer waters. The reason being, it's the cores that the lines are built on. Cold water lines are typically built on a Dacron core, which allows the line to remain supple and castable in the colder water conditions, 45 to 65 degrees. Tropical lines are built on a stiff monofilament core, which allows them to perform better in the real warm water. So the big difference you'll notice, if you take a cold water line into the tropics, it will become very sloppy and unmanageable, almost like casting overdone spaghetti. Most of your major manufacturers will have a designation for tropical lines versus cold water lines. It may not be on the box, sometimes it goes without saying, but check your designation, your water temperature designation, before you buy your next fly line. If you go to the Florida Keys with a steelhead line, you're going to be very disappointed, and it's going to be very frustrating. So check that out, go online, look at these designations before you make your big next fly line purchase. The fog was relentless, and there didn't seem like any chance of it burning off. But we persisted and did manage some fish, but more than that, we also experienced the islands through a different lens. The fog and lack of wind made for a silence that's eerie and beautiful at the same time, and I was happy to have had a chance to see it. Oh, jeez.
Got him?
Yep, I got him.
Nice
I got
fish,
him.
too.
I got him. Boy, did he crawl on that.
Yeah.
I don't even think I missed him the first time. I think he had it and was gone.
Yeah.
Those big fish fight completely different.
Don't they?
I think this is a big fish. Yeah,
I
it's
like the tail swirl on it.
Completely different fight.
Little tug to him, doesn't it? Look like he wants to tow us into the fog.
Push him a little bit here. My God, he's not that big. Jeez. He's fighting way above his weight class. I'm hooked. I got you on my wrong side, darling. Get that big fly out of the way. Oh, come here. There we go. Wasn't going anywhere. Still a nice fish. Good solid fish. For the first time, we were really relegated to blind casting, as the fish were acting very differently than the previous days. But Eric knew what he wanted to do, and the action was no less consistent.
There he is.
There he is. There's a fish. Anyway, that's a good fish. That's a good fish. I think this is a good fish, but I said that about the last one too.
Yeah, you know, I got a better look at the first time I looked at it than the second one here. I just got the belly.
And that first one that I missed, that fish, that was a substantial fish.
It had some shoulders.
Yeah.
I don't know if this one might be it.
It was, you know, it was
Little
around
brother.
the same spot, but I'll be darned.
That wasn't the first one.
Jeez. Just a...
The color's on.
As the tide poured in, everything slowed, and it was getting to that time. That was an interesting trip back.
Yeah,
It's a little foggy out there.
it really is. Pea soup fog.
It started to break, and we thought, oh, it's going to lift, and then it actually got worse. But we still got some fish. Fish were behaving completely different today. It was really unique. I thought we were gonna knock them dead, but we still got, you know, we still hooked 4 or 5 fish and landed some. Wrap it up tomorrow.
Yeah,
Hopefully this front that comes in doesn't bugger everything up, but we'll see.
yeah. Fun
all you can do.
regardless, right?
That's all you can do. On this week's episode, we fished with 8-weight rods and large arbor reels loaded with intermediate sinking lines. And I felt that the real game changer in this trip was the intermediate camel lines. Eric feels very strongly about these lines, mainly due to their stealth factor. With their broken or mottled finish, these lines will blend in nicely with just about any backdrop and give you a far better chance while casting over spooky fish. The flies that got the job done were fairly generic bucktail style streamers, but tied mainly with synthetic materials with a fair bit of UV flash incorporated into them. When fishing on shallow flats, as we were, it's important to use a real attention grabber, as the fly may only be in their zone for a second, and the UV material tends to stand out just a bit more than conventional bucktail streamers. We also had some fun casting to tailing fish with a little prawn pattern known as the fat-ass scampi. It's safe to say, though, that you don't need a lot of gear to fish here, so if you go, think like a minimalist. On our final morning, the weather, which had been so cooperative, had finally betrayed us, and even at first light, the wind and chop on the big bay was starting. Eric's plan was to find a couple of secluded bays and the leeward end of some islands and chase the fish that way. But it was evident from the get-go that today would be different. After yesterday's fog and the system that came in last night, where we're fishing on a building high pressure today, which isn't perfect, but like we've been doing, Eric, we're going to chase the tides, hopefully find some working fish, and go after them. From the word go, Eric and I hit it off pretty well. We were relatively like-minded and had a great rapport for a couple of strangers. But I got the sense that he was like this with everyone.
My name is Captain Eric Wallace, owner of Coastal Fly Angler. I've been offering saltwater guided fly trips in Maine for going on 22 years. Prior to that, I was a guide in the Pacific Northwest in the Rocky Mountains. The website to reach me at is coastalflyangler.com. And if you're looking to book up here, I book up pretty early in the year. So the sooner the better. We can match up the right tide for you. And if I'm booked, I got a great group of guides that I can recommend to you. So reach out early, and if you got any questions, love to talk about fishing during the winter, so feel free to reach out.
A good guide should be prepared for all contingencies. We've got a little bit of chop on the water today, about a 15-mile-an-hour wind, and it's supposed to increase. I was having a hard time laying my line on the bare deck. The wind wanted to push it off, and trying to pull these intermediate sinking lines out of the water to make another cast can be frustrating. Eric pulled out this stripping mat, and as you can see, as I'm stripping the line in, these long tines pick it up, catch it, and then the coils stay on top of one another, making your next cast far easier. You'll see that the line just comes off the deck without any issues with tangling. Keep that frustration level down when you're fishing in the wind. Have the gear available, and it'll be a lot more pleasant day.
We did what we could for the remainder of the morning and did manage to find the odd fish, but it was challenging. The wind wasn't getting any better, and the fish were just off and behaving very differently, likely due to the big weather swing.
Son of a sea cook.
But that's fishing, and 3 out of 4 days is more than we could ask for.
Well, that about wraps it up for this week. We had a terrific time once again in Maine, and as always, we look forward to coming back. We want to thank Captain Eric Wallace for keeping us dialed in all week, the staff at the Harraseeket Inn for the wonderful accommodations, and of course, the state of Maine. To watch other episodes like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel or visit us on the web at thenewflyfisher.com. Until next time, be safe, good hunting, and we'll see you on the water.
The New Fly Fisher is supported by Maine Office of Tourism, Orvis Fly Fishing, Scientific Anglers, Trout Unlimited, WeatherTech Canada,